Let's get sweaty.
Hey guys, welcome to a Shenmue Dojo video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Shenmue 3 release from ININ Games. We're sort of talking about the build up to that, the challenges that this game is going to face going forward in the build up to the eventual release, what they could be doing with it, something about the current fans and how to engage them, engaging new fans, but also looking at the success criteria for a project like this, because it is quite an unusual project that Shenmue 3, this sort of game is going to get revived essentially, but it's also worth noting how important this is, and I can't stress this enough, that the success of this project is going to be paramount to whatever happens with Shenmue 4. Now, I've said a million times, ININ can't do it on their own, but what they can do with this is give it a proof of concept that Shenmue can make money. Now, if that is successful and works, they can then hopefully negotiate partnerships to get more Shenmue games made and all the rest of it. If that doesn't happen, we're screwed. That is it. We are going to be up shit creek without a paddle, believe me. So it is absolutely imperative that the Shenmue community comes out and supports this in the best way possible, because it's not often we get a second chance at this. Now, there's two challenges here, obviously the current fan base and then the new fan base, which I'll come on to. So the current fan base, this is a very, very complex challenge in itself. Obviously, the vast majority of us would have bought Shenmue 3, whether you liked it or disliked it, you've at least bought it. There is going to be a massive weight of expectation around whatever ININ Games are doing with Shenmue 3. Now, to put things in perspective, and just my opinion on this, we are not going to see massive changes in Shenmue 3. Now, that could present a problem in some circles for some fans, because obviously we all agree that Shenmue 3 weakest point is the story content, but I can't see us getting masses of new story content, if any, because you then have to put all the work into that, and it's quite costly. You've got to motion capture stuff, you've got to script things, you've got to reorganize the game, you've actually got to build the scenes as well, and even story DLC has its own costs there as well. So I just don't think the project is going to have that sort of money to do that sort of thing. And if you're going to do something like that with that sort of money, do you then just pour it into a Shenmue 4 anyway? I'll come on to some of that as well. So my belief here is it's not going to be massive changes. You're going to get sort of quality of life stuff, but I'll come on to that in a second. So without these, I guess, major changes that I think if we saw like massive story content for Shenmue 3, loads of people will come running back to it to see what it's like. And I get that, but because that's unlikely to happen, there needs to be other ways to engage the fans, engage the community. So I don't think this will happen, but one thing I would do if I was ININ Games, obviously they can't confirm they're involved in a Shenmue 4, they're probably not at this point in time, but what they can do is set their stall out for me. They can give reassurance around their intentions for the series. They can come out and say, look, if we get the opportunity to do Shenmue 4, we know that the story is hugely important. It should be the primary focus of any future Shenmue games going forward. They're not committing to making this game, but what they're saying is if they're given the opportunity to make this game, that they know where the focus should lie. And as I said, we all agree Shenmue 3's story is the weakest element of that, and we can't have that divide in terms of the reception happen again. I've done that in a previous video. I've talked about that. It is imperative that the Shenmue community is united and absolutely united behind a new release, because if it's not, I think we are done, and I've said that publicly for years. So that is hugely important to get that side of things right. And if ININ are sort of setting their stall out and going, do you know what, if we get the opportunity, we want to work with WiseNet, whoever, to nail this story content, then I do think that will pique some fan interest who may not have been so engaged with Shenmue 3 and go, all right, I'm willing to come back, maybe give this a go. So then coming on to what they might be doing, I guess. Now, they had the survey come out months ago. I believe it's still open, oddly. And people were asked to note their requests into things that they wanted. And I'd seen all sorts of stuff come over social media, from the stamina system getting taken out or changed, money barriers, classic camera, those sorts of quality of life things that could come out as well. I've seen a few people even suggest using Unreal 5, which potentially could work, because if you nail it in Unreal 5, get things ready there, you then have the basis, the modernized basis to then use for a Shenmue 4 as well, which would make a lot of sense if they are looking to do a Shenmue 4. You can go, well, we've got the engine and the current Unreal, we're ready to go on that side of things. It makes things a lot easier and brings costs down. But you need to be able to engage us, the current fans. Now, there are going to be a portion of us that will buy everything anyway, but that doesn't go for everybody. So they need to look at a way to monetize us, essentially, and go, right, how do we essentially make the money to then make more Shenmue viable? Now, we are not, as a current fan base, I don't think going to contribute hugely in terms of this necessarily, unless there's other ways to go about it. But I do think there is going to be a decent amount of money to be made from the Shenmue fans. It's just the fact we are there to be, to pay our money to get Shenmue content. That's what we do. We love Shenmue. We love buying the content. So there's two things here I think they could do. So the first one, we're in the era of like upgrade pass and paid upgrade pass on the current generation of consoles. How many PlayStation 4 titles have you seen with a £10 upgrade to PlayStation 5? Nintendo's upgrade model for Switch 2 is a bit messy. It varies from sort of £10 to £20 depending on what they do in terms of the content. It's not particularly clear on how they go and do that. Microsoft, on the other hand, are, in fairness to them, consumer friendly. Just do it all anyway for free, and thank you very much, and that's brilliant. But here with Shenmue 3, what they could do is introduce a small upgrade path, £5-10, and go, right, you'll get all the features that we're looking to put into this new release, whatever you want to call it, of Shenmue 3. It will play on PlayStation 5, upgraded PC, Switch 2, whatever platforms it's on. And then you just essentially go, right, it gives people a reason to play the game again. But what you need to do is communicate those changes and why they're so impactful and the positive impact it will have on the game and the experience for those people who may have had those complaints. As I say, you can't change the story, but you are going to potentially encourage sort of a small portion of money revenue from that upgrade path. 5-10 quid, job done. And I think you're probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark that enough of us will generate some income for them that way. Then, and people aren't going to like me for this, I'm going to say collector's editions. Now, I know over the years we've had lots of Shenmue 3 collector's editions. We've had the 2 ones from Limited Run Games. We had the base collector's edition in the UK. We've also had all sorts of release trinkets come out with Shenmue 3 as well, from the mirrors and the steelbook cases and things like that. On top of the Kickstarter awards, there's a lot of Shenmue merchandise that's come out with Shenmue 3. And that is fantastic and great. But I do think the right collector's edition, now I say this very, very openly, the right collector's edition would be the way to do it. It has to stand out. It needs to be, have items in it that the Shenmue community are going to want. So if you go out to the Shenmue community, you put a poll out, you ask them what they want. What do you think they're going to say? Now, one thing I've seen pop up in our Discord and our social media is proper, full replica mirrors, official mirrors. We've never had any. Never. And I just cannot fathom why. Because it'd be a great selling point. If you had really good, high-quality mirrors as part of Collector's Edition, I anticipate there will be a lot of fans that go, do you know what? I'm going to plunge on this because I want those high-quality mirrors. It has to be desirable. It has to be quality, and it has to be something that stands out from the crowd. So mirrors is one thing. I've got some from Etsy behind me, and they're really good. I really like them, but I would kill for official ones. Other ideas could be, for example, we haven't had a proper statue of Shenhua for a number of years since the premiere. We've never had a proper statue of Ren, for example, so could they do something like that? Could they maybe make a play on like Ryo's notebook, for example, and do something like that as well? Like have a notebook in there that's modelled on Ryo with some entries in it, or something like that would entice the Shenmue community. And I'd be very interested to see what you would think if a collector's edition was going to be announced. What would you want in it? I'd be very interested to know. Drop us a comment and I'll pick some of those up. That sort of leaves the current fans. As I say, it's a tricky boat because there's going to be a big portion of us who want a lot of changes to Shenmue 3. And those massive changes, quite frankly, are not going to be on the table from my perspective, at least. So we then have to engage people in other ways, as I say, offering reassurances about the future of the series, and also the upgrade path, and maybe a decent collector's edition that then really engages us with stuff we haven't had before. Do that, and I think fans will buy it again. And if you can communicate those sort of upgrades in the right way and how they improve the experience for people, I think people will overlook some of the other flaws within Shenmue 3, such as the story content, and be willing to give things a go, especially for a price of 5 to 10 quid. I think that'd be pretty good, or $5 to $10, depending on where you are, of course. Then we come on to new fans. Now, Shenmue, over the years, has had very mixed PR. Let's be brutally honest about this here. Very, very mixed PR. We've had some brilliant PR. We've had some terrible PR. There's been some awful decisions made over the years as well. I'm not going to go into them here. So it's had this very mixed approach in terms of marketing and public relations. It just has. So you've got a battle against, I think, some of the negativity around Shenmue 3 in terms of how it's perceived in terms of the game itself. I do think within the fan base that has changed. I think it's more leaning towards that Shenmue 3 is generally a good game, but we all recognise its weaknesses. There are a portion of the community who are staunch haters of it, and that's their opinion, and that's fine. But I think we need to sort of move away from that now and go, let's play on the strengths of Shenmue here, and let's form together as a community what this whole series offers. Not just 3, the whole series. And we've got to change the narrative around that. Now, that is a hard job to do. Likewise, it's hard for a new player to come in on the series partway through, and we all know that. But we have had some brilliant PR recently. Obviously, the BAFTA award was an absolutely fantastic result for everybody in the community. It went viral, it went public, it went on ITV News, for goodness sake, in the UK. Can't ask for much more than that. I guarantee you that would have got a number of people curious. Likewise, Sega have then all of a sudden given us a Discord channel in their own official area for the first time in God knows how long. Now, I know it's small and may not mean jack shit, but it's them recognising it. So there's momentum there as well. And on top of that, Dual Shockers have said, look, yeah, Shenmue is one of those games. It's the top game on Dreamcast. It's aged like a fine wine. So over years, it maintains its quality. So we've had some really good PR there. So you've got a good starting point to base that thing off of. Likewise, multiple platforms. Now, this again, you need to broaden the market. Now, Shenmue 3 had its release on PC, Epic Games Store. We all know what happened there. Obviously came onto Steam a year later, and on PlayStation 4. Now, for those of you who are unaware, it came over to PlayStation 4 as an exclusive. Microsoft, prior to the Kickstarter, had turned the Shenmue 3 down and only came back to the table after the Shenmue 3 Kickstarter had already gone underway. So all those deals were signed, and essentially I think that was it, done, and it was all contractually bound. It couldn't go anywhere else other than PlayStation 4 and PC. But now we're in an era where ININ Games can take it, and they've asked in their survey, to other platforms. So releasing on multiple platforms, not just for Shenmue 3, but for Shenmue 4 and any future Shenmue games, is a absolute must. It expands the market massively. If you can get it working on Switch 1, you've got over 100 million players over there that, with the right marketing, the right push, can engage in Shenmue, not just 3, but the whole series. And that's where we potentially need Sega to come on board and bring it over to Switch 1 and 2, over to Switch rather. Losing my words there. I don't know why they haven't. We will have to, as a community, help that message a little bit and maybe put pressure on Sega, but also show that if it needs be, it can be played on Switch through other means. You can play the original through other means, so people have a way to catch up. Because, as I said at the top of this, it's a very difficult thing to come in part way through. But also, the price point is a big thing here. Now, the original Shenmue 3 came out, I believe, at $60. It varied on territory. I was quite lucky. I got it for under RRP, which is fantastic. But I don't think you are going to be able to sell this title, being brutally honest, at $60, 60 quid. It's not a goer. If you sell it, say at $35, $40, you're in that territory where people might go, do you know what, I'll give this a go. You could go lower, and maybe $25, where I do think you are then very much in the, to hell with it, I'll chuck some money at it. But I don't know what the bottom lines are for something like this and what the thinking is here. But if you put it in that sort of $35, $40 price bracket, it's below that AAA stuff for a start. And if you do that on the new platforms, should it happen, such as your Xboxes, your Switch, or whatever, then I do think you are in the territory of people going, do you know what, I'll just give this a go. Let's see how things sort of come out here. Likewise, once it comes out and you've had your initial sales and things like that, another way through this could be to put it on PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. Now, Shenmue 3 did have a run on the higher tiers of PlayStation Plus a few years ago and was taken off for whatever reason. I'd only do this when potentially the release has settled down a little bit. And this gets gamers into the series essentially for nothing because they've already paid their fee. And it gets into more hands, and people who are on the fence, maybe unsure about plunging money on Shenmue 3, may play it, enjoy it, grab the other games, and then you sort of then hopefully gathered new fans that way. As I said, if you did this at the start of this thing releasing, I think you are going to have an impact on the initial sales and the initial return to that, and it's vital we make money here. Now, there's this whole discourse online about whether Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Plus makes money for developers and publishers, and frankly speaking, I'm not educated enough to really comment on that, but I do know sales equals revenue, and that's very straightforward and very simple here, but that is the point. It will, those sales will give them money, that then will hopefully give them profit, and then we know where we go from there. So I'd only put it on PlayStation Plus and Game Pass a bit later, but I'd heavily market that as a, right, we're now broadening our horizons here, let's pop it on here and have that positivity around it as well. But that's all well and good, I guess, but you then need to look into the strengths of the Shenmue series, not just Shenmue 3, but the whole series itself. Even when you go back to the original games, for example, the environments in Shenmue 1 and 2 are fantastically stunning, and the environments in Shenmue 3 I don't think get enough credit. I think, yes, they are stylized a certain way, but they are absolutely fantastic to look at. It's colorful, they're bright, they change in the weather, and I think they get nowhere near enough praise there. So you need to focus in on the things that Shenmue does brilliantly, which is the environments, the soundtrack, the iconic characters they have. I know 3 you may struggle in some aspects with that, but you can still hone in on some of those things as well. You can look at some of the hidden content within 3. You can show some of the changes that are in action that they may have made in the game and go, this is what it was like before, this is what it's like now, this is what we're looking at, and show that ININ Games are listening to the wider community and listening to gamers and looking to sort of give Shenmue that lift to the sort of modern standards that people potentially expect. I would also go and play on the community here. Now, we are a small vocal community and everybody knows that, but why not play on that side of things as a new fan coming in who might be a bit daunted about Shenmue and go, well, I don't know anything about it, I'm a bit reluctant to come in on this, having never played the series before. Promote the community, promote that we are a welcoming community who are on this journey to get as much Shenmue stuff as we can, and give that welcoming approach. Any questions, anything people want to know, any even constructive criticisms, all the rest of it, we are here to talk about Shenmue. We love Shenmue, that's the whole point. So if you sell that open community, that welcoming community to a bunch of new gamers, while it may not be the primary driving factor of people picking up the game, I openly accept that is then going to help people engage with the wider franchise, the wider series, and the wider strengths within this series that make it so special. Do that, and I do think you're onto a good thing here. Likewise, you lean into the positive press I talked about at the top of this video, the BAFTA, the DualShockers stuff, Times Square, the community going mad for everything. You lean into all of that stuff and you show Shenmue for what it is, a trailblazer, an icon, all of those things together, and I do think you then have a pathway to intrigue people into the series should the price point be right. As I also said as well, you can sell 1, 2 and 3 maybe as a package. That happens on Steam. Maybe price it appropriately, and then you get all 3 games for 30, 40 quid. Bam. And sometimes you do get sales for even less than that, which would be fantastic. And then you get 3 games, good value, and you're getting anything between sort of 60 to 90 hours of gaming, depending on how much you want to play it. So that's great as well. But you're going to need trailers to back all of this stuff up. So you could potentially show for current fans comparisons of 1 and 2. So if, for example, you had the classic camera running, and they put that in there, you could then have like Ryo walking through the Buita, and then merge it into him walking through Bailu Village, and have that sort of, we recognise it, it's here, and it's still got that classic feel that the current fans like. Likewise, you need to encourage new people in, so you need to show some of the fighting, some of the environments, and lean into the strengths that game can offer. Get it to set the scene for Shenmue 4. Almost say, look guys, we're here, we've made this is a step forward to Shenmue 4. The story is exciting, we're going to move things on. here's the game to get you up to speed, to get you ready for what's to come and that exciting stuff that's to come. And do you know what, with something like this, if I had the money and I had the time and I was involved in this, I would be saying on top of this, release a teaser, manga, comic, something when this game comes out to go, right, you finish Shenmue 3, have it as an unlockable in the game, in fact. Do you know what? Because then people don't leak it online, or if they do, most people have played it. Something like that then teases what's to come in Shenmue 4 and creates that excitement, not just for us as current fans, but the new fans coming in as well. Do that, and I really do think you are going to drive some sales, drive some money, drive some revenue, and hopefully bring people into the series, expand that market, and prove that concept that Shenmue can make money. And then you get your partners, then you get the other people coming in, and hopefully we get a Shenmue 4 announced. So that then brings me on to our success criteria for this release. Now, it's difficult here in that it's not a typical release. The game's already been made. We are thinking that there are going to be some improvements made. So it's not a full sort of ground up $20 million project. It just isn't. It's in this sort of weird place where it probably isn't going to cost a huge amount of money, but every pound, dollar it makes is vitally important into inching us closer to Shenmue 4. Now, the obvious success criteria for this is Shenmue 4 gets announced. Game on. Thank you very much. And we're all very, very happy by that. But you also have to look at the maths on the ground, essentially. Making money back on this project and making profit. It is imperative this makes money, and good money. Not just scrapes over and makes a little bit of money, break even, maybe a little bit. It needs to make good money. So, for example, if you sold 100,000 of these at $40, 4 million revenue, you lose about 50% of that to platform costs and storefronts if you've got the physicals. Leaves 2 million left. Hopefully that covers the costs and your profit margins, which would be fantastic. Sell 200,000, you double everything. And then you're really then into, I think, being able to reinvest into more Shenmue mangas, games, whatever you want to do, merchandise. I think then you're in it for the long haul, and you could reinvest it maybe episodic stuff and something like that. But I won't go down the episodic route too much because people got upset at me about that last time I did it, so I'm going to leave it there. The next thing I think from a success criteria standpoint is that ININ Games show they are behind Shenmue for the long haul. Now, I say this with a bit of tongue-in-cheek here because I think they certainly love Shenmue and love what's going on here with the franchise and the community and everything else. They're super responsive, they talk to us, and likewise they probably tease things they shouldn't, as per the tweet that or post reply that was put out a few days ago, talking about the potential of Xbox and Switch 2 versions, which is on the screen for you right now. Great, I love it because they're engaging, and I don't think we got that previously with Deep Silver. They were a bit more standoffish with the community and weren't willing to maybe have that back and forth that ININ do. But I'd love them to show they are in this for the long haul. Dennis Mendel is a massive Shenmue fan, huge Shenmue fan, so that leads a lot of credence, I think, to him wanting to secure the future of the series. But I'd love to see some sort of open moves around that publicly from ININ Games. Obviously recognising what they can and can't do. I'm not going to say they should promise things they can't, because that's just going to lead to disappointment, and we've been there before. I'm not going to mention names here. But if they can sort of show they're in it for the long haul and have this long-term strategy around Shenmue and what they want to do with it, then I think that is another way for the community to be sort of reinvested in this and reinvested in this whole Shenmue 3 project and what's going to happen. And that would be a massive success, that we then have somebody behind it who's supporting Yu Suzuki, supporting the community to further Shenmue, further market, and realise the vast potential this series has, which we all know it has, but I don't think everybody quite realises. And then the final point in terms of the success criteria is the community becomes further united. Now, when I say this, I mean this in the nicest possible way, that with Shenmue 3's release, there was a divide. There was a chasm of division between the fans that liked it and the fans that didn't like it. Probably 50-50, maybe 60-40 in favour, perhaps. But there was this divide, and there are still, as I said earlier, a small group of fans that probably sit on that real sort of staunch fence of hating Shenmue 3, and that's up to them, and fair enough. If that's someone's opinion, that's someone's opinion who's played the game and given it the time to sort of breathe and all the rest of it. But a success for this will be bringing the community closer together. Now, thanks to everybody's efforts within the community around the tweetathons, around the Times Square stunts and the BAFTAs and everything else, I actually think there is a massive wave of positivity within the community that has gone a long way to reuniting the community as a unit together. Now I would say it's 90% of the way there, which is a fantastic result, and credit to everybody who's gone, do you know what? I'm getting behind this. I'm back. I'm here. I want more Shenmue, and that's fantastic. But if this project is successful and helps bring that even closer to us being 100% united, that is only a good thing. We know that then we can know the future series is bright, that we're invested in it, and hopefully with the 4 they can nail it. And I think that will bring those other people back within the franchise as well. But now, as sort of my final thought as I close this video out, and thank you for sticking with me for, which is probably coming up nearly half an hour now of me just jabbering away at you. The final thought is here. This project has to be a success. If it isn't, I don't know where we will go in terms of future Shenmue games. I just don't know. I think then we are really facing a massive uphill battle. One that any community on the internet is going to be able to do it. It's us. But one that I think is a massive mountain to climb. Arguably bigger than the mountain we climbed when Shenmue 3 was officially announced, because you then had 2 releases. Okay, Shenmue 3 was financially fine, Cornish product, all the rest of it, but we can't have that again. It needs to be a success. So that needs people in the community to put their sort of disillusion a little bit behind them and ask yourself, do I want more Shenmue? Yes or no? Right, how can I support this release? Is it an upgrade path? Is it buying it for a friend? Is it, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go, just replay this game again and just try and re-engage that way? We have to put all that shite behind us and unite behind this and behind ININ Games. This is the best opportunity we have had for more Shenmue for years. We cannot, and I repeat, we cannot let this opportunity go now, because if we do, I think we're fucked. And that is straight up honest opinion from me, and I've been doing this a long time now. We will not have a better opportunity to get Shenmue 4 made if this project is successful and we all unite behind it. I know there's going to be individuals out there that are going to shout at me and go, well, Shenmue 3 wasn't very good and this, that and the other. That's your opinion, fine. Can you put that behind you? Can you support the series? Can you support the strength of the series, the strength of the community, and everything that we have done in order to push this series forward, to get Shenmue 4 and to get this thing finished? If you can, that is exactly what we're looking for here. It's not just Shenmue 3 here and the success of this project at the end of the day. This and the future of the franchise, in my opinion, rests heavily on what's happening with Shenmue 3 within ININ Games at the moment. No pressure, guys, but that's honestly how I feel about this thing. So everybody needs to look at it and go and think of the bigger picture here and go, that might be my opinion on 3, good, bad, or indifferent. But you know what? I'm coming out and I am supporting Shenmue as a series to get this thing done. If you can do that, I think we will get there. Likewise, guys, on the 4th of every month, we've been trending for over a year now, guys, and that's down to the work of everybody that's come out so far. But all those people who haven't yet, this is your opportunity to come in, make that noise, and, you know, get us that Shenmue 4. As I say, on the 4th of every month, hashtag Let's Get Shenmue 4, we tweet as one community to get that hashtag trending and to make the noise to get further Shenmue games made. I'm going to leave things there, guys. Thank you for sticking with me in for what is a very long video of just me talking at you. It's always appreciated, guys, with you engaging with the content, the tweetathons, and everything else that the dojo and the community is putting out. Don't forget to give us a like, share, subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the usual places that you can find us. If you want to be a member, by all means, £2 a month on YouTube. You get all the videos ahead of time outside the podcasts. Don't worry if you don't. It just goes onto the Saturday scheduling system as normal, with all of the money going towards competition, site costs that James and I incur for keeping this thing moving and going forward. As always, guys, thank you for dropping in on all the content, and I will be back with a video in the not too distant future. But for now, guys, take care, have a good one, and I'll see you soon.